Well, hello everybody, and you are all very welcome indeed to this episode of the ESG and Tech Show. My name is Susan Hayes-Cullerton, and I'm delighted to be here today to talk to you about a topic that is gaining more and more traction in conversations that are being had in business, in the stock market, in parlance, in the news, etc. So for all of those reasons, today I chose to talk about blockchain. What is it? How does it work? And also, of course, what do we do from here to make it work all the better and more smoothly as we go? So first things first, as you know, what I always do is I would first of all love to hear from you and to hear exactly what part of the world you're joining me from. So can we first of all ask everyone to pop it there into the chat, tell us where are you joining us from today? So over there into the chat, where are you joining us from today? Let's hear it from you. Okay, I can see that you are joining me from Egypt. Okay, that is certainly a place I've never been yet, but would love to. So let's hear it. We're hearing from Thomas from Kentucky. Sally is joining us from Florida. Francis from Boston. Badger is joining us from North Dakota. Cape Cod, Vancouver, New York, Houston. Keep them coming here. I am truly interested to see what parts of the world, as I say, everybody is joining me from. So Chicago, Seattle in Washington, joining from Maine, South Carolina, Dallas in Texas. Love Texas. To be honest, I love most of everywhere that I'm hearing everybody's from. Currently, I'm in Ireland. I'm actually in County Laois today. So County Laois is about an hour southwest of Dublin. That is where I am right now. And VectorVest says, VV Nation is indeed everywhere. Richard, you're in San Diego in California. One of my favorite smaller cities of the US. Meta is joining us from Ontario. Never been there yet either. Great. Delighted to see where you're all coming from. So let me tell you all about the ESG and Tech Show, just in case any of you haven't been here before. The ESG and Tech Show was born last year when we decided, you know what? I believe that the two biggest trends of the next decade is technology and sustainability. And I think that both of those conversations deserve a critical conversation in both areas. And what we need to do is understand what is the technology that is driving those changes. So, for example, some of the episodes that we've had in the show have been around 3D printing, because 3D printing could particularly change retail and manufacturing and healthcare completely. Public transport, another area that could completely change. And of course, we know that when we saw over the pandemic, we saw how flights dramatically changed. The business model of an airplane suddenly then became a very different story. The same thing of cruising, etc. But when we look into the future of public transport, that is when we really saw, well, how can people move from A to B? What is the economics of it, the physics of it, the geography of it, etc. So we look at technology, and I'm going to be particularly talking about blockchain, of course, today, the blockchain technology and how that can change, and what business models it may completely eradicate, what it's doing right now, and of course, the stocks that are driving forward with technology, with the technology behind the blockchain in them. But we also look at sustainability. And so where we've looked at here is green energy. We've looked at green energy ETFs. We've also looked at the impact as well of sustainability on business models. We've looked at a range of ESG ETFs, ETFs that are focusing on environmental, social and governance. So because we take both of those themes into all and every single episode that we're looking at, then it really does give us a chance to look forward. Also, sometimes what we do is simply take the biggest themes of the day. So my last episode so far has been the most popular one. We'll see what happens today. But so far, my most popular episode on the ESG and Tech Show was the last one, and that was on inflation. And what I simply did in that episode was that I looked at inflation and I said, okay, how is inflation being affected by technology and sustainability? But also, how do we understand what's driving inflation? How do we understand how to invest according to inflation? And of course, as well, I showed you one key aspect of the VectorVest software that was simply able to show me the ability of companies to absorb inflation in their supply chain, and whether or not they were choosing to pass it on to customers was up to them. But it really gave people an insight into how to handle inflation as well. So that is what we're here. That is what we're here to do. And as I say, today we are going to be focusing on the theme of blockchain. We're going to be explaining how it works, etc. Now, I'm just going to take a quick look back. So I have my phone running right here where I can see all of your comments. I can see everything that you're saying over here. So, of course, if you have any questions along the way or any comments, please do pop them in there. And I see Carol is joining us from Georgia. That's wonderful. Thank you. Jawar is joining us from South Carolina. William, hello William, regular here. Thank you. William is joining us from Chicago. Jason is joining us from Houston in Texas. Brian is joining us from New York. Ben is joining us from Vancouver. Jerome is joining us from Cape Cod in Massachusetts. Salty Hook is joining us from Florida. So, and it's great. As I say, it's always great to know where you are joining us from. Okay, so let's take this from the top, right? What exactly is blockchain? Now, I'm going to explain that, but before I do, can I ask you to pop there into the chat? Tell me, have you come across blockchain anywhere yet? Are you coming across blockchain anywhere yet? Now, of course, there's some very obvious examples of what I could put forward to you, but if I do that, well then of course I could be influencing what you say. So what I just want to hear is, from your point of view, where have you come across blockchain? How have you come across blockchain? Is there any reason that you might have interacted with the blockchain, etc.? So let's just hear from you on that while I'm explaining exactly what it is. Charles is joining us from Tucson in Arizona. It's wonderful, Charles. You're very welcome. Right. Here's the way it works, right? First of all, blockchain is, of course, made up of the two words, block and chain. And what the blockchain is that it's a chain of blocks. And in those blocks is a store of a variety of transactions. And MR Consulting here said blockchain and crypto. Yeah, that's the obvious one, isn't it? It's how does blockchain relate to cryptocurrency? Yeah, and of course I'll be addressing that. So we have a block of transactions that are in a block. Okay, so you have a pool of transactions then that are put into a block. And this block is a distributed ledger. And this is one of the defining characteristics of the blockchain versus traditional finance. Let's say right now I have a bank account. Let's say you have a bank account. I send money from me to you. Okay, we simply do that. Think about what has to happen there. So my account is identifiable. So I have an account number. It's not public, but I have an account number, and that account number is linked directly to me. So do you. So you have an account number. It's linked directly to you. It's not public, it's private, okay? And your details are with your bank. Now, I send money to you. So that needs to go through a bank, and along the way then, there needs to be, the bank itself is connecting the two of us together. Secondly, the bank is verifying the payment of the money, and it's overseeing the transaction, and there is a paper trail there, okay? Agree on all of that? I guess you do. And then the third thing is that the bank also has a record of the transaction. So what happens if the bank gets hacked? Well then, my account details, and of course my details related to the account, as in my name and address and everything else. So my account details, my own details, and the details of that transaction could then be could be accessed by the hackers. Here is how blockchain is different. Chala says Amazon runs partly on blockchain. Yeah, and you're going to see more and more of that, Chala. You will. So what happens in a distributed ledger or in a blockchain? What happens here is that all of the transactions are public for a start. They're all public, okay? So you can get access to them. Now, you don't know that it's me, Susan, with my details as they are. Instead, I would have a key. So I would basically have a unique identifier, all right, that you couldn't necessarily link back personally to me. But the details are public. And secondly, as well, they're self-regulated. In other words, the details of this transaction goes into the block. That, of course, will soon be going onto a chain. So a distributed ledger means it can't be hacked, because how could it be hacked? It couldn't possibly be hacked because all of the information is already public. There is nothing to hack. All of the information is out there already. The second thing, of course, is that because it's all there already, it's also transparent. Anybody can have access to it. So if it's already transparent, if it's already out there, Well, then what that means is that the information can be visible by anybody. So now anybody from the outside can see whether I sent across the money or not. My digital wallet and somebody else's digital wallet, they're freely visible. You can connect them back to us, but you can see the transactions that are there. Like I say, there isn't anything to hack because all of the information is already public. And here's the next bit, is that it's immutable. Immutable means that it can't be changed. Now, let me explain how that happens. Because every 10 minutes, a block is sealed. Okay, so you have a block of transactions and the block is sealed. And then there is another block of transactions. Okay, so between those two, there are nodes. And the nodes connect the two together. So what happens is that there's a digital seal in between the two blocks. That is made up of a mathematical code. And it is people who are mining Bitcoin or Ethereum, etc. So it is because of both of those are being connected, because of that connection in there between the two, then you have a digital seal that connects those two blocks together. And that happens all the time in between all of the blocks. So therefore, if you were to change one record within one of the blocks, well, then it would have to change all of the other blocks back to the beginning of the blockchain. And of course, that is nearly impossible. So therefore, we have got a distributed ledger. We have something that is, broadly speaking, very, very transparent. And also we have something that is immutable. That is what the blockchain actually is. So we see an awful lot of, explainers out there and a lot of things like that. But in essence, you have got three defining characteristics there. We have decentralization, immutability, and transparency. Okay, decentralization, which means the data is stored inside the blockchain, inside of the blocks, but the data is available to everybody. We can also see that it's immutable, so you can't change it, because if you were to change something in one block, then you'd have to change all of the other blocks as well, which is nearly impossible. And then we also have transparency, because anyone can see anyone else's digital wallet. You just can't connect the person directly to it. Okay, so that is what blockchain actually is. And I wanted to start off there. Now, where I'm going to go next is that I'm going to show you the stocks that we're going to analyze that are taking advantage of the blockchain. Maybe they're like Chalice said, maybe they are they're an organization that are running part of their business already on the blockchain. Maybe they are selling into businesses who are trying to do something on blockchain, etc. So what I'm going to do is I'm first of all going to show you the stocks that I'm going to analyze. I'm going to show you where I came across them. And then the second thing is I'm going to bring you back over then to an article that looks at the different types of business model arising from the blockchain. And of course, what I also want to mention then is what business model is being disrupted as a result of blockchain as well. Because remember, I did call this episode blockchain a disruptor. So what is it disrupting? I also want to show you that, then bring you back to the stocks and we'll analyze those. The last part of today's episode is where I am going to look at the energy consumption. Okay, it is a big issue as regards blockchain. It is something that is changing over the next couple of months. We're going from point of work to point of remind me. Stake. That's what it is. Anyone? I'm sure you're probably already you're probably already putting that there into the chat. Point of work to point of stake. So that is changing. But what I also want to do is that I want to show you something else entirely. Is that I also want to show you how the blockchain could be helpful to help us in navigating global cohesion around ESG standards as well. Okay, so right, let's take it from the top. Let's pop on over then and let's take a look at the stocks that I'm going to analyze for you. Okay, so let me just do this now. Okay, so here we go. Now, first things first, right? So this is a piece. And remember, in every case, I always send out an article afterwards where I outline everything that I have discussed already. So I'm going to be doing that, okay? So we're going to be doing that afterwards. But before we get to that point, what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you this is a piece that I'm going to be referencing. And in here, what you can see is that it points out the various different types of blockchain business models. So I'm just going to open those up here. So there's 7 types of business model here. And I'm going to take you through what each of those are, because this is going to help us understand the types of companies, the types of businesses that are developing as a result of this. Okay, so you see the first one up here was token economy. So this is a business model which uses a utility token as a way to perform different activities and provide an incentive to end users. Now, I will say one that I see happening here is called a social token. So if you are one of those people who puts together a block beside another block and you come up with a digital seal on the blockchain, then you can get paid in Bitcoin. And I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with different types of cryptocurrencies like that. But what about if you were to, I'm going to give you an example of this. What about if you were to think about TripAdvisor, okay? So think about over here. Let's think of TripAdvisor. Now, TripAdvisor is encouraging me all the time to leave reviews, okay? And sometimes I do out of the goodness of my heart. And sometimes I do because I know the business in question. And what I want to do is I want to be able to help the business out. Well, here's an example of where they give digital badges then to people who are really, really good at giving recommendations or documenting feedback, etc. So I was in Antwerp there recently, and let me just see here. Do you know what? Actually, I'll give you an example, right? I did a Dublin food tour recently, right? So if I look over here and I see Dublin food tour, I'm probably going to see Dublin Delicious Tours is in here, I would imagine, at some stage. Let me have a look here. Here we go. This one, right? So here's one, and I might have said, okay, I'm going to review this. And then when I come down here, it will look down here at the various different information that has come in. Here we have all the reviews. And when I look at the different people who have given reviews, right, you can see in here, we can see all the people who've given reviews. Here's 14 contributions, etc. There, what TripAdvisor is trying to do is trying to incentivize people to continue documenting things as they go. And therefore, you get badge value as a result of it. Similarly as well, let's say if I go on to booking.com. So if I go over here to booking.com, and then I do use booking.com quite a lot, and then I book something, then after a while I get a genius badge where I get money off. So they're loyalty badges. So they might turn into money in the case of booking.com, or money off. In the case of TripAdvisor, it might elevate my status. But what about if I got a social token? In other words, what if I got a token that basically I would get paid in a cryptocurrency because I did good things? Maybe it is that I left useful feedback on something. Maybe I reviewed a product that's new. That is the example of a token economy. It's basically adding on some weight to a digital badge. Then we have development platforms, of course. So development platforms provide blockchain technology stack to other organizations. Now, one of the most practical examples that I've seen recently in terms of blockchain is I came across a beer company, a brewery that makes its own beer in the north of Ireland. And how they use the blockchain is that they want to basically enable people who are drinking their beer to see every single aspect of what is made in the process. So from every ingredient to every process to every single step along the way. What it does is that it points out, so it basically runs beer in the blockchain. Okay, beer in the blockchain. Beer, blockchain, blockchain. Yeah, beer blockchain. This is it here. Beer on there it is. The crafty pint. If I'm right, this is it, I believe. If I am correct. Now, you know what I should just do? I just want to be sure. Beer, blockchain, Northern Ireland. I just thought, there we go. First, there we are. Here we have it. For world's first blockchain beer brewed in Northern Ireland. So basically, downstream, this is what it is. Yeah, this is it, all right. And I actually interviewed Shane McCarthy about this. So the whole idea is traceability of food is that instead you would have traceability of beer. So what this does is this enables somebody to then understand exactly. So you hold up your phone, it's a QR code there, and you can basically see every single ingredient, every single everything, and how it has traveled through its journey in order to get to where it is, so that then you can actually see the real sustainability involved in that. So that's a really practical example. You might have also seen them in Spotify as well, where people can, send cryptocurrency to artists so that then the money actually travels to the people in question, etc. Now then you have the network fee charge. So this is a business model where a network fee is charged from end users or other entities in the blockchain. So this is one where you can actually, people who are end users. So I might say, okay, look, I like such and such a song that I'm listening to. And so again, let me show you that. So Spotify Red Hat blockchain. Okay. So if I pop on over here, so this happened just last month. Okay. So what it did was that it launched its new fund to support independent open source projects. So it announced that it was launching a free and open source software fund to support independent open source projects. So the company said that the purpose of the fund is to bring attention to independent open source projects and give back to developers. That's the idea, is that using the blockchain, actually there's money can travel through the blockchain right back to the beginning. Because of course you can track everything because it's a chain of blocks. And this new fund would start at 100,000. Spotify's open source tech leader Per Plug said in a blog post that this is just a starting amount, and as with any new program, companies wants to test it out before deploying it more broadly. So the idea was, down here as you can see, is that Spotify uses open source software to power the best audio experiences for creators and listeners around the world, and it was with a view to enabling the right people to get that money. Okay, then you have the P2P. Now here's one that I want to point out to you here for a moment. Okay, I do particularly want to draw your attention to this, because in the cases of the other three, you can't really, we're not really disintermediating anything. Okay, so if you think about it up here, the token economy, the equivalent to this might be badge value or tokens, but there isn't a business or a sector of people that is totally employed in this. Similarly with development platforms. So I was showing you there, this is a new area, right? So at the moment, there's not an awful lot of companies that would be using something apart from maybe track and trace or some sort of verification process or whatever. But again, it's not this area, this whole idea of tracking everything to portray sustainability, etc. It's not really, there isn't a big sector, there isn't a big industry in that yet. And a network fee charge, well, this has always been around. I mean, the idea of paying money to people for doing things that are of value has always been around. I was at a concert 2 weeks ago and I paid money through a platform that went, like a booking agent, so that then I could buy my tickets for that concert. So, okay, that has always been around. This time we're talking about doing it through the blockchain. But this I do want to talk to you about, because this is banking, in essence. The P2P is peer-to-peer. Peer-to-peer blockchain business model. So P2P based business model utilizes blockchain where peers are able to execute direct tasks. Now, you see, here's where I think this could actually be not just revolutionary, right? It already is revolutionary, but this could really question a lot of very big existing industries. So let me go back here for a moment to where I send you money and I send it through your bank. So then I log into my bank account, I get your bank details and I send across the money, and then the bank verifies that the money goes to you. So the bank, I can get a bank transfer confirmation from the bank and I can email it to you, and I said, yeah, there you go, it is on the way. Okay, so Ulrich says, and how many millions of beer drinkers are interested in this or have time to follow this nonsense? Interesting, Ulrich, you said that, because when I interviewed Shane about this, I asked the question similarly in terms of, like, number one, how much does this cost, right? Number two, is this really of value? And number three, does this take an awful lot of time and effort? So Ulrich, the answer was, number one, it was a distinguishing factor in the same way that any other beer has a distinguishing factor. It's a USP, unique selling point. And he said that it doesn't cost anything. It doesn't cost anything to basically have this track and trace system. It doesn't cost anything. There's free platforms available out there now, which is of course the whole idea of the blockchain itself. And number three is that you're simply checking in with your touch points as the beer is being developed as it goes along the way. So thank you for your comment. It's interesting to hear your point of view. And maybe I didn't quite put it that way, but I did question the sentiment indeed to the people behind it when I had the opportunity. So to come back over here to the P2P blockchain business model, imagine now if I could just send money to you directly and there is no bank, okay? There is no regulation. There is no verification system from a third party. What about if I'm simply sending you money through blockchain and the the transaction, you can clearly see from my digital wallet. Secondly, you can see that the transaction is in the block, and of course it can't be muted, it can't be changed. So if it's created, it can't be undone. And then it also means that the audit is it basically automatically happens at the same time. So we're talking about a very big part of two big businesses, auditing and banking here. So if this was to take over en masse, like really and truly en masse, then there would be some really big questions to be asked then in both of those industries. Okay. Now, let me go up here. Then we also have a BaaS. So this is blockchain as a service. So it's all about providing an ecosystem for other companies to thrive and utilize blockchain technology. So whether this might be consultancy basis or whether it might be an organization setting up a blockchain for another company, etc., or creating the blockchain which can then be subsequently licensed out, that is another business model that can come to pass there as well. Now, I certainly know of lots and lots of platforms like that, kind of the sharing economy type platforms, Airbnb type platforms or marketplaces, where instead of leaving service feedback or supplier feedback or customer feedback, is that instead they may well be considering digital tokens instead. So then they might create a digital token and that's all good, but do they want their own blockchain too? That would be what BaaS is. And then look, we have our traditional type of services that are built around anything that's new. We have blockchain-based, so software products. Companies develop blockchain-based solutions and products in order to sell it to other organizations. So this is simply, okay, we have a new technology that's out there. What can we do now? How do we in actual fact make this available to other companies so that they can basically plug and play? I listened to a great podcast earlier on. It was all around podcast accounting and triple entry and blockchain. So this was it. Now it's quite a long, quite a long podcast. Is this? No, that's not it. This might be it. Yes. So the whole idea of that accounting has gone through its greatest change in 700 years, because we went from single entry to double entry to now triple entry accounting, because accounting isn't just about debits and credits, but now when it's linked to a time and it's immutable and transparent, well then that could also change. A big change as well for the whole accounting profession. Okay, so, and then of course there's also professional services. Now this one, I just noticed here, I just want to point this out to you here, DApp development. So there's professional services here related to blockchain, such as DApp development, consulting, auditing, etc. DApp is distributed app. That's what that stands for, DApp. It's just something there that you might come across from time to time. But the whole idea there is that, Ethereum in particular, it's another form of blockchain. Its whole basis is focusing on smart contracts. But how do you know that the contracts is suitable for the various different people? How do you know how that works in the context of law, technology, jurisdiction, etc.? So they're all the 7 business models that are emerging now from blockchain. So from what is basically a distributed ledger that is transparent and immutable, these are the 7 types of business model that are emerging as a result of them. So I just wanted to give you that sort of granularity before we move on. Okay, so now let's move on and talk about this a variety of different stocks that are being, bandied about out there. And I'm going to mention 2 different sources that I came across with these that I would like to share with you as well. Okay, I'm going to share these with you, and these will outline the different types of companies. Some you'll be familiar with, some are totally dedicated to blockchain. Some of them are not. Some of them are much bigger, like IBM is an example of a company that is coming up quite a bit. Before I get on to that, can I give you a moment there to just tell me in the chat, tell me, do you see value in any of these? So in any of these business models, do you see value in these? Whether it's track and trace for food or beer, or do you see this where you can give cryptocurrency, digital tokens in the token economy rather than badges or kudos or vouchers? Can you see how that would happen? Can you see how these types of, independent providers could then be paid in cryptocurrency and a really clear chain of command from end users who come across these? So I'd just like to hear your thoughts on that for a moment. So do you see the business model value here? Let's just hear what you have to say. And while you are getting that ready, or answering that, I'm going to pop on over here and I'm going to take a look at this. Together, I have a collection of companies here that we're now going to get in and we're going to analyze on the VectorVest system. Okay, so just want to hear from you all around your thoughts on those business models. What do you think? Do you see that would be a way in which you can see value being added? Do you think those business models are going to persist? Okay, now while I'm waiting there, as I say, to hear from you on that, here is, so the Motley Fool puts forward 9 blockchain stocks to consider. And then over here we have Go Banking Rates have put forward 7. And some of them are the same. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a watch list and let's take a look at all of these over here together. Okay. So what I'm going to do is let's start from the top, I didn't create the watch list before you joined because I want to show you how to do that. So here is my homepage here at VectorVest. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to create a watch list. I'm going to pop on over here to viewer. Okay. I'm going to go over here to viewer and I'm going to click here. I'm going to show you there where we're going to start off, because what happens here when you start off here on viewer originally is that you can click on watch list viewer, you can click on stock viewer, you can click on a variety of them, but where I want to go here is watch list viewer, and then I'm going to create a watch list. So in here, what I'm going to do is this is going to be my blockchain watch list. Okay. And this is a list of stocks that are currently being discussed in relation to investing in blockchain. And I press add. There we are. Okay. Now, so let me take you through what each of these are, right? So the first one up here, so I see here, Dragon from India says buy silver. Okay. Right. So it's a good, interesting point. I think that may be a little bit different to the topic that we're talking about, but thank you for your comment. And of course, anybody is welcome to share their thoughts as we go along. So I'm going to start off up here. So the first one here is NVIDIA, leading manufacturer of graphic processing units, GPUs, and they are essential components in important technological areas such as AI, autonomous vehicles, their self-driving cars. Naturally enough, a big part of the episode that I ran focusing on the future of public transport and gaming. Okay, so NVIDIA here, they generate more than $100 million quarterly revenue for the company, and miners, so these are people who mine cryptocurrency. They need specialized GPUs to process transactions. Okay, so I'm going to pop in my first one over here. So how I'm going to do this is NVIDIA, NVIDIA. Okay, so there's NVIDIA, and NVIDIA is going to be joining my watch list there. So there you go. I can see there it's now on my watch list. Okay, next one down here, CME Group. Some of you may be familiar with this company. It's basically, I was in it. It's in Chicago. It's the world's largest futures and options exchange. So any of you that's interested in those areas, futures and options, you've probably traded through there at some stage. Now, this I think is an interesting, there we are. It is the only exchange that creates a market for cryptocurrency future contracts, although the rival exchange, the NASDAQ, is planning to re-enter the space in the future. But right now, I think that's an interesting point here. So CME Group is the next one. So I'm just going to pop on over here to VectorVest and add this in, CME. Okay, there we go. There is the Chicago, the Mercantile Exchange. There we are. Okay, that's now been added in. Next one, Block. So the fintech company Block, formerly known as Square, some of you may be aware of that. Payment processing ecosystem for small businesses and its Cash App personal financial platform. So it is two different business models. It allows users to buy and sell Bitcoin quickly and easily. And also it has its own team of Bitcoin developers known as Square Crypto that has several exciting projects. Okay, so I'm just going to add in here Square SQ. Okay, so just going to come on over here. Of course, I'll be analyzing all of these as well. SQ. Okay, there we are. Here's block. Right, there we are. Right, now, next one. IBM. Okay, IBM. Interesting. I just thought that the analysis here was quite interesting. So it says, although IBM's performance in recent years hasn't been stellar, company has made some big moves to jumpstart growth. Sorry, Red Hat is here, not Spotify. For example, its $34 billion acquisition of open source software developer Red Hat gives it plenty of cross-selling opportunities, and it's also provided a transformative solutions for clients such as Kroger, True Tickets, and others. Okay, so we're going to add in IBM. Okay, over here, IBM. Okay, here's IBM. Great stuff. Okay, IBM is added in there now. Right, then we have MasterCard. Now this is actually one that comes up quite a bit when you look into blockchain. So payment processing, MasterCard has grown tremendously for 7 years as the trend towards a cashless economy led to increasing volumes of debit and credit card transactions. Blockchain technology has the potential to transform the cashless payment space, particularly when it comes to cross-border money transfers, which have historically been slow and costly and, of course, potentially mistake-ridden. So it has announced a new partnership with blockchain technology company R3 to develop a new cross-border system. And it's also accelerated a crypto card partner program. So I'm now going to take going to take MasterCard over here as well. Okay, so I'm just going to add this in here. MA, okay, there's MasterCard. Right, that is number 5. Next, DocuSign. DocuSign, of course, without a doubt, I certainly have been signing lots of things using DocuSign anyway. Undisputed market leader in e-signature technology, and also electronic signatures save time and money. DocuSign has used blockchain technology in its business since 2015, allowing customers to record their agreements on the Ethereum blockchain. And the CEO, Dan Springer, has talked about how important blockchain will be for the future of DocuSign's business. Okay, so let me pop back over here. DocuSign, D-O-C-U, DocuSign. Okay, yep, there we are. And I'm going to let that populate. Amazon. This is one that some of you have mentioned to me already. Amazon. So it operates the leading cloud infrastructure service, AWS, and it offers Amazon managed blockchain, which allows customers to create and manage their own blockchain networks. Remember that I was talking to you about that here? This is BaaS, blockchain as a service. So there's definite potential for Amazon to eventually incorporate blockchain technology into its e-commerce, and blockchain makes up a minuscule percentage of Amazon's revenue, but as the technology evolves, there are possibilities for much more. Okay, so let's add on over here, AMZN, Amazon. And now let's keep going over here, Coinbase. I've actually bought and sold this myself. So Coinbase is the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange. Whenever I think of Coinbase, I think of the phrase, during the gold rush, the people who really made money were not the people who were digging for gold, but those selling shovels. And that's often what I think of when it comes to Coinbase. So it's the largest cryptocurrency exchange with more than 100 different digital assets available to trade on the platform. It has roughly 73 million verified users in more than 100 countries around the world, and there's more than $1 trillion in annualized cryptocurrency trading volume flowing through the platform. One of the best things about Coinbase, at least from a blockchain investor's point of view, is that no matter which cryptocurrencies end up leading the way, the company should be a big beneficiary as the tech grows. So Coinbase is one, I'm sure I've spoken to you about that before. COIN. Okay, there's Coinbase. Now, then finally we have an ETF. So the Global X Blockchain ETF was formed in mid-2021 and is designed to allow investors to gain exposure to a basket of blockchain stocks with a single investment. Now, there's lots of crypto ETFs at this stage, but let me just explain that the difference between the two is that cryptocurrency is the payment for engaging in the blockchain, whereas the blockchain is the underlying technology itself. Or, as some people might say, if blockchain is the car, cryptocurrency might be the engine. Okay, but do you want to invest in an engine or in a car? And that's the question. So what I'm talking about is investing here in the car. So in this case, we have the Global X Blockchain ETF formed in mid-2021, BKCH. Okay, let's pop over here, BKCH. Okay, and there we go, Global X Blockchain. Okay, now we can see that that's been added in there as well. Now, just before I finish up and before we start analysing these companies themselves, what I'm going to do now is just check in over here about the 7 best blockchain stocks to buy right now. Some of them we have already, but one of them, or a couple of them we don't, so I just want to add these in as well. So Riot Blockchain focuses on Bitcoin mining, and you'll see that in this piece. There's a good focus on that. So RIOT. Okay, so I'm just going to pop in here, RIOT. Okay, there we have Riot Blockchain. That is added in over there. We also then have Block. So that's one that has come up in both pieces. And this article tends to be more numbers based than the other one. The other one is more narrative based. So we have Block already, Visa. Now we have MasterCard, but you can see here Visa, of course, would be in a similar sort of business. So it's been investing in blockchain technology since 2016. Developed Visa B2B Connect, which processes cross-border corporate payments using blockchain. And it is also Visa FinTech Fast Track, which uses crypto wallets to help users pay at more than 100 million merchants globally, along with buying and selling Bitcoin. And Visa customers made $2.5 billion, which is still pence in comparison to the global fund transfer in the first quarter of fiscal 2022, according to CoinDesk reporting on an earnings call with CEO Al Kelly. So Visa, okay, so Visa is V. Okay, just going to pop back over here. So Visa is V, okay. And Bit Digital, so similar to Riot, Bit Digital is a Bitcoin mining company operating in the US and China. And the company has exploded onto the blockchain landscape and is currently one of the largest Bitcoin mining companies listed on the NASDAQ. So as you can see there, it has other information about it, but it's a mining company. So this time it's BT. Okay, so just add that in here. BT. Okay, there's Bit Digital. And again, the focus here is on mining. IBM, which we have already. Amazon, which we have already. And then last one, we have PayPal. So long before Square, or now Block, there was PayPal. And the two are battling it out, not just in the person-to-person cash transfers and payment processing, but in the crypto space as well, where PayPal provides a centralized platform for users to buy, hold and sell Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, etc. So, and you can see there's a range of other things that are outlined in there. So PayPal is also in that area. Okay, and yet again, there's another explainer here on Bitcoin, and we all have we know enough about that now. Okay, so let's come on over here. Okay, and now let's take a look at what we've got going on. How do we analyze this? And the reason that I really, take this approach. The reason that I take this approach sometimes, that was my phone falling there. And of course, I need to keep it up to make sure I'm keeping an eye on what you're saying to me. But the reason that I do that is you can read a lot about different themes. And whenever you come on this show, and this show happens every single month, ordinarily it happens the third Wednesday of the month. Every single month, I will be taking you through something that is new. And when I say new, I don't mean breaking news today. That's not my purpose. My purpose for this show is to talk about things that are, happening in the periphery, things that people are talking about from time to time that could very, very soon become mainstream. So when we look at augmented reality and virtual reality, that was another episode that I had a little while ago. Blockchain is something that I believe is, really is moving mainstream now. And that's why when I talk about it new, I don't mean that it's new today. It could have been new for the last couple of years. But the whole idea that I want to show you, or I want to tell you about, is how to understand this in comprehensive terms, but also then to understand how this translates into investability. Okay, so to come back here, here's what we've got here in front of us. Now, I can see all my symbols over here on the left-hand side. I can see all of my company names. I can see my exchanges. Of course, all of these are in the US. The US market is currently open, and I have got my real-time access going on here, so all of these prices are changing here as we go. Now, right now, I can see Amazon is down very significantly today. So is Riot Blockchain. Both of them are down very significantly. On the other hand, MasterCard and Visa, both of them are up at the moment. Well, slightly flat, but up nonetheless. Now, the first thing that I need to consider is, why would I be considering investing in these stocks? Am I doing so because the market is offering me good opportunity at the moment, or is it because I would like to buy these specific stocks? If I was to consider it from the first point of view first, which is the market, I would pop over here to timing. I would go in here to the market timing graph. I would click it to view it. Now, perhaps it already has loaded. Yes, it has. And what I need to do here is that I just need to maximize this one. Okay. Sometimes that happens there on when I'm working with one screen. Now, what you can see here is this is the way the market is operating at the moment. Okay. This is the VectorVest composite up here. I can see all of that here now. And of course, we can see that the market has been falling of late. But of very, very recent times, I can also see that the market here has moved from the low of 53.21. And at the moment, it's up at 55.27. So it's clear here that that there has been a change in the market over the last couple of days. In addition, I can see that the MTI, the market timing indicator here, I can see that the bottom of that, it hit 0.36, which is very low. But I can see that it hit that on the 11th of May, which was last Wednesday. So a week ago. And ever since then, the market timing indicator has, as you can see here, been rising. So what I can see here is that, is the market now moving in a direction where it's getting better? Are the buyers now winning the war against the sellers? Particularly, of course, over the past few days, we've been seeing, past few weeks, there is a concern about, the Fed raising rates, very, very high inflation, tight labour market, etc. Is that beginning to turn? And we don't have to make the decision, by the way. We don't have to make that decision at all. VectorVest is doing that for us, because if I close this graph and I open up the color guard, in fact, let me go to my homepage. I can see here the color guard is neutral. So VectorVest advocates buying caution when buying stocks at this time. That is what VectorVest is advocating. So if it's advocating caution at this time, it's just saying, okay, do you know what? Take a chill pill, Susan. Just relax now for a moment. Let's just see what happens, because we've got a lot of yellow lights. And yellow lights mean either a trend is weakening or it's reversing. At the moment, it looks like it's reversing, but I can't tell yet if it's just weakening. I don't have to tell. I don't have to do anything, because right now, what I'm seeing is a lot of yellow lights. The color guard is neutral. Let's just see when those lights either turn red or turn green. If it turns green, it means that that trend is indeed reversing. If it turns red, it just meant that that trend was weakening for a little while. Based on today, the markets today don't look so happy. So yeah, let's take it easy for a while. So that's the first thing that you need to do, is consider, okay, am I going to any investment because of the market and what's going on with the market at the moment? Or am I going in because I want to buy a specific stock that I think is going to go in a certain direction independent of the market? Now, next, let's take a look over here at what is going on with these stocks. Okay, so first of all, one thing I don't like to see here is I don't like to see my sell recommendations. Okay, I don't like to see a sell recommendation. Now, that's not to say that I haven't bought a stock with a sell recommendation. I have, but I've generally bought a stock with a sell recommendation when I am in a bottom fishing scenario. And I ran a session all around bottom fishing in the bottom fishing course that is available on demand. My own views in VectorVest Europe are all focused on bottom fishing at the moment, both this and future sessions as well, my future views over the next 2 weeks. So that's a different story. I wouldn't be bottom fishing right now. I would rather wait and see if we're in a appropriate situation. And certainly I wouldn't be bottom fishing in a stock where I wanted to hold on to it maybe for the longer term. Some of the rationales around blockchain in these types of companies has been more focused on the long term rather than right away. So similarly, again, personally, when I see a sell recommendation, it's not what I want. It's something that personally I would rather see at least I would want to see a hold recommendation. So let me just pull up the stocks there in the order that I would like them. Okay, so here I can see that we have got 3 stocks right now that have got a hold recommendation. We've got IBM, MasterCard and Visa. Now, when I look at these stocks, what I want to see is I want to see significant VST, value, safety, and timing. So I want to see stocks that have got good long-term price appreciation potential. Okay, so that's where I want to see RV being above 1. I also want to see RS above 1. So that is where I want to see my relative safety being higher. So I want to see above average consistency and predictability of financial performance. And of course, I would like for the RT as well. I'd like for the RT to be above 1. It's telling me that the direction and the magnitude and the dynamics of that stock are heading in the right direction. So far, of the top 3 here, and the top 3 being those 3 withhold recommendations, it looks to me, like I'm sure it looks to you, that Visa is the one that is standing out to me. Okay? Or is it? Because there's another way of looking at a stock that I really, really, really like. And what that one is the comfort index. I like looking at stocks with good, solid, long-term price ability to withstand severe and or lengthy price declines. And I can see the best CI, the best comfort index, which is indeed that metric, is at 0.7. So you know what? How about we do this? How about what we're going to do is we're going to graph each of these 3. And I'm going to graph each of these 3. And just before I do that, I just want to see over here all profitable stocks. Growth certainly seems to be happening in MasterCard and Visa as distinct to IBM. Very high dividend yield though in the case of IBM. 4.88% is very, very high. Much higher than the other 2. And is there anything else that I want to see? You know what? Let's take it from there. So let me graph the selected here. Now, I'd say my laptop is doing the very same as what it was doing before, namely playing tricks on me. And let me maximize. And yeah, okay, right. So here we are. Here is Visa. Here's the top one. Okay, what do I see here? Well, what I want to see is I want to see VST. And I see that VST is rising. Okay, I see VST has been above 1 for a... Now this graph, because I got feedback before, some listeners told me that they didn't know how long the graph's for. This graph's for a year. So I can see here that VST has been above 1 in the case of Visa all that period of time. And what I also want to see is RT. And I want to change the style. I want it to be easier for you all to see RT. Now, can you see that? Hopefully that's better. Okay, so in this case, what I'm seeing here is I see that RT is below 1. Okay, but it's rising. So I think Visa might be an interesting idea. So we can see fundamentally Visa is offering some interesting possibilities here. VST being above 1 point, well, being above 1, being close to 1.2, you know, it's offering some interesting possibilities here. But the RT here, the fact that that is moving from 0.8 up to 0.92 now, this would be an interesting possibility to look at. When RT breaks above 1 would be the time that I might be potentially looking at this stock. And the DY, the dividend yield, is, yeah, you know, it's not amazing at 0.73. Let me strengthen that up for you there as well. But on the other hand, it still is offering a dividend. And I also would just like to check if I was to bring this graph just to the beginning of the year, where would we be now? Yeah, okay, so the stock has fallen like most of them have since the beginning of the year. But and look, it's been brought into the same changes in technology that a lot of us have seen over the past year. It was certainly since August there's been a significant decline there. But this is the graph that I would be looking at. Sorry, one last thing I'm going to put in the graph is this. Look at that beauty. I'm going to right click here on EPS, change the style, and I'm going to change the style to look at those beautiful looking earnings, right? Starting at the bottom left and moving to the top right. Now I have everything that I want to see. So my verdict here on Visa is that I would think Visa has some interesting fundamental possibilities. Personally speaking, I would want to see RT to be above 1. That would be my trigger, but when I might look at this further. The dividend yield is okay. I wouldn't necessarily want to be buying this for the dividend, but it certainly is an interesting idea if I was to do that. And finally, I can see that the earnings are rising. Okay, good. Number 2, MasterCard is pretty the same, isn't it? It's pretty similar. It's a very, very similar story. The VST has been not as much above 1 actually. Visa has had a higher one. The dividend yield is pretty similar. It's 0.94. So look, the other one was 0.78. Not much of a difference between the two. Dividend yield here, or sorry, it's 0.58. So a little bit lower than the last one. The RT is closer though. The RT is now at 0.94. And again, I would say the same thing for when it would break above 1. That would be, I would like to see that sort of confirmation happen before taking any further action. And again, look at those beautiful looking earnings. Bottom left, top or bottom left hand corner to the top right. And if I was to go further, yeah, that typically is the same thing. Dipped down all right there towards the end of 2020 and picked right up again. In fact, if you look there at where the stock was from, say, the beginning of 2019 up to now, is that a very, very significant change there. Now, let's take a look at IBM. Right, let's take a look at IBM. So this is not all that appealing to me. Okay, obviously the fact that the earnings are falling is not something that I would want to see. That said, let's take a look around. Okay, I can see that the company has the dividend yield. Like, I just find that a remarkably high dividend yield. Dividend yield of 4.89%. You rarely see that anymore. At the moment, you rarely see a dividend yield close to 5%. So the stock has been falling since probably, again, I would probably say since around about last August or more.